Hi guys, I'm Gabriella and I'm currently designing a comic called Crossroads. And while I've been doing that, I've learned a lot about character design. So here are 10 character design tips that I have to share with you. The first one is to simplify. When your viewer is looking at your characters or your illustration, they're probably going to be seeing them zoomed out, far away, and kind of small, right? So can you notice the small little details on this man's design here? Not really. So what you can do to save yourself time when you're redrawing these characters in the future, eliminate any small details for yourself. So for example, like on this watch, I'm going to erase the little strap and details, because unless I'm showing the watch in a very close-up shot, then I don't really need to draw in all those details every time. Same thing goes for buttons. You can erase small little button details that aren't super important to the character's design. Another tip with simplifying is just to make your character's design symmetrical. So if I erase these buttons on this collar here, I don't have to remember which side the buttons are on depending on which way the character is facing. This will save me a lot of time. My next tip is to use reference. Go on Pinterest or Google or look around in real life at what people wear and to get outfit ideas for your characters. You can also look up pictures in order to improve your accuracy and realism. So with this man's shirt here, I don't really remember how to draw a collar off the top of my head, so I looked up a picture of what a collar looks like. Same thing with their shoes. In order to get more realistic looking shoes, I looked up pictures of different types of shoes. The third tip I have on character design is using a cohesive color palette. So you want to reuse some of the same colors, but at the same time, you don't want to give two people the same color shirt if they have similar designs to begin with. For example, I wouldn't want to give this character and this character the same color jacket because their jackets are already about the same height, have these similar white collars. But if you are going to reuse a color, then make sure to do it on characters that are completely different, like this large man versus this little girl here, or younger girl here. So their shirts are very different, so it's okay that I reuse the same color on them. The next tip is variety. When I first started drawing out my characters, I realized I had too many male characters, so I went back and added some female characters. Variety doesn't just go for this, but for other things as well. For example, with your characters, like colors and shapes and other things. So I'll get more in depth with that right now with, for example, talking about their shape designs. So in order to make these two people look different, I gave this man a very rounded jaw shape, like this, versus this man has a more pointed, sharper jaw shape. That way, even though they both have relatively wide faces, it's easy to tell the two characters apart. This is going to create interest and help your characters be more memorable. Shape design also applies to hands. So for example, this man has very rounded hands and this woman has very pointed, slender hands. Shape design here is also used on shoes, hats, every part of their shape and body and clothes designs and accessories. The next tip is silhouette. So fill your characters with a layer of black while you're working on them in order to check that their silhouettes are unique from each other. For example, this woman and this woman have very different designs. They're easily recognizable by just their silhouettes. This woman has curly hair, whereas this woman has a very simple head shape. This woman has these long arms and long legs. And this woman has a very wide coat versus she has a narrower coat. So your reader will be able to easily recognize each of these characters right away. And silhouette, you want to have a clear silhouette not only for their designs and shapes, but also for their pose. So if this woman was holding a book, let's say, in her hand here, you would be able to tell that she was holding it, versus this woman, if she was holding a book in her hands, you wouldn't be able to tell from the silhouette. It wouldn't show up. So make sure when you're posing your characters that they have clear silhouettes as well, so that way whatever action or important object they're holding is very clear. Okay, so the next tip I have is with contrast. You want to contrast your characters, giving them polar opposite attributes. So I have both old characters and young characters. I have both wider characters, narrower characters, taller characters, shorter characters. Try and make polar opposites out of each character design. Another tip I have is to research. If there's some type of character that you need to draw that's maybe an animal or some type of person that you haven't drawn before, or whether it's kids or old people, then do some research. Look up what those things look like. Look up tutorials, look up tips, look up photos of what they look like. So with these animals, for example, I also drew a horse. I looked up cartoon horses and horse is standing in this front view in order to figure out how to draw this pose. And the next tip I have is to make a height chart. Put all your characters on one big canvas like this and make some kind of guide for yourself to show what height they each have. Try and only have about 2 characters the same height. That way you have, once again, more variety. Putting out all your characters on one big canvas like this will really help you, because when you go to draw, let's say, this girl and this man in a scene, you'll know that this girl is always at this height compared to that character. Laying out all your characters on a large canvas like this will also help you, because you can see them side by side and make sure they're using a variety of colors, shapes, silhouettes, etc. My final tip is to make a turnaround of your character. Draw them in the side view, the 3/4 view, the front view, etc. Right now, I'm not revealing this photo or picture because I'm going to be talking more about turnarounds in my next video. So make sure to subscribe if you want to learn more about turnarounds and why they're important for designing your characters. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed these tips on character design. And make sure in the comments to tell me your favorite tips on character design. And if you want to see more of my drawings, you can follow me on Instagram, which is Gabriella Bologna. Thanks!